This stream is sponsored by IGK TAS, telemetry analysis system powered by IGK.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to LRTV for the latest round of TTML F2 action. We're into the second half of the season now, and starting with the traditional first race after the F1 summer break. It is Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. Joining me in the comms box, as always on a Thursday evening, is Pepsi Freak. Pepsi, how are you doing?
Doing good. It's a Thursday evening for you. It's a Thursday mid-afternoon for me, but it's going to be a fun race here today. I assume we got 16 drivers already showing up, maybe one or two more, hopefully, but it's going to be a very fun day, and Belgium can be a tricky circuit in the dry, so it could be a few drivers get kind of caught out in the conditions, per se. We'll have to wait and see how it settles out here today.
Yeah, certainly we will. Belgium always, well, nearly always, we should say, provides some fantastic racing action. You can see the track map up there at the moment, longest track on the Formula 1 calendar, 7 kilometres, 4.3 miles, only 22 laps, of course, preceded by the traditional 18 minutes of short qualifying. If you weren't with us last time out for the British Grand Prix, it was quite a dramatic start to the British race, which led to some very interesting strategies. Zuidema pitting on the first lap of the race, and that ended up being the key move for him. He took the victory at the last race, and he now leads the championship by 39 points. From Scott B7, who got his second consecutive podium. Corvin Robb is still third in the championship. We saw Tibos move up into fourth, and Tom proving to be the man who's consistent. Not finished in the top 5 in the races yet. He is, though, 5th in the championship, partly in thanks to that amazing consistency, scoring points in every race. In the Constructors' Championship, though, it is Williams on top at the moment. Red Bull might be able to close up tonight, as Zuidema's teammate, TDB, now driving for the NRX team, does have a qualifying ban, so that is going to cost him possibly quite dearly tonight. Red Bull are second, Alpine, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, Haas still there on 0 points at this moment in time, and was an interesting race last time out. Zuidema, he definitely called for strategy absolutely perfectly. Things just seem to be going really well for him, and in such a short season, time is running out for some of these other drivers. They've got to start beating him fairly soon. He's got a 39-point lead in the championship. He could finish second in every single race. Even if Scott wins every race, that would be enough for Zuidema to claim the championship.
That is correct indeed. Right now, I just kind of see, basically where they have that, in F1 where you can customize the little, halo thing on the inside. I just think he's got that little quote that says that, "Beat me if you can, survive if I let you," because he's just on a roll right now to the point where anyone that steps up to try to challenge him just gets kind of annihilated. Now, but we're in the second half of the season, though, so that could have just been a jinx. And if Belgium could be the turns of the tables, one bad race here, the form goes wrong, and next you know, here comes a challenge by Scott, Rob, and the rest of the field. And next thing you know, Zuidema, instead of being very cocky, even though he's not cocky, but we can assume he's got kind of a I can beat anyone kind of on the track right now form, could easily have that reverse on him, reverse Uno card, and then there he goes, going into Abu Dhabi, needing to win or hold good points to end up holding onto the championship.
Yeah, certainly. We will quickly take you through what the rest of the calendar is then for the rest of the season. As Pepsi's just mentioned, Abu Dhabi is going to be the final race. Unlike Formula 1, we're only making one trip to the Middle East at the end of the season. We're not making 3. We've got Belgium tonight, Japan, USA, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi, the final race of the season. Looking at the circuits we've got on there, definitely some historic ones. Belgium, Japan, and Brazil. Belgium, probably the most unique out of all of them. Really, apart from the middle sector where you need for downforce, it is really a high-speed circuit. And one thing that isn't unique to Belgium, because it can happen at Japan, and it can happen at Brazil. It can happen in America, but it probably can't happen at Abu Dhabi. And that should give you a big clue as to what I'm talking about. Look at the weather, ladies and gentlemen. This is one thing that Zuidema didn't want to see. When you're in the lead of the championship, you just want a nice, straightforward race. None of this wet weather to just throw a spanner in the works.
And looking at the race as well, there is a chance there could be some rain by the end of it as well. So this could be some good practice per se for the drivers today. But to kind of finish your point on the calendar, just to say that looks like a very historic circuit. And honestly, I'm kind of torn on which one I'm kind of hoping for more. Part of me says the Japanese one because prefer it in game. But as being an American myself, I think I kind of want to see a good race on virtual home soil. So these next 2 rounds are going to be very fun for me per se. Not saying Belgium or Brazil or even Abu Dhabi, even though some people would say, are going to be fun races on their own.
Yeah, of course, Abu Dhabi, it is still going to be the old layout. They are updating that for this season, and I think now that the Qatar circuit's been announced today, I think the Codemasters track design department getting a few hours of overtime in, maybe just to try and get that in to the next game, as Qatar says it will be having a long-term contract, not actually in 2022, but from 2023 possibly, at a brand new street circuit. As we know, Formula 1 seems to love street circuits at this moment in time. Thankfully for these drivers, they have not got to worry about that tonight. They've just got to worry about getting around in qualifying, and that is going to be a worry. They don't want to bin it early on in qualifying and be starting right at the back of the grid. We're going to see a lot of drivers, as we usually do in wet qualifying conditions, just doing multiple runs, just getting used to what the circuit is like, because the wet tyres and the intermediates don't wear anywhere near as much as a set of slicks.
True, and looking at the thing, it's going to be these conditions throughout the whole qualifying, so there's no break, so you're going to have to get used to these conditions. And the thing is, with Park Fermé on, there's kind of a risk-reward situation where if you put the car in a wet setup, as it looks like actually the Williams went on a set of intermediates, which good luck for him, but he's also got a qualifying ban, so I think it won't bother him too much. He may just kind of send it off here. But back to my point, it's just a situation where it's just like they're going to, if they get Park Fermé and they put a wet setup on, it may be wet by the end of this race, but you may be kind of on the stinkiness on the first half of the race because you have more downforce in the car. But the same thing in the reverse. If you kind of try to wing it, you may be slow in qualifying, but you may go through the field quickly during the start of the race.
Yeah, we are expecting rain some point in between 15 and 30 minutes into the race, so it will definitely hit during the race. It won't get the race finished by then. Probably normally around here, a race you're talking around 40 minutes to finish, so there will hit some rain. Just how heavy it is going to be, I don't think we'll be seeing the blue wall tyres. You might be seeing the green ones, so maybe some of the drivers just want to save them, as Tsunoda getting all crossed up on the way into the bus stop chicane. Let's go for then the longest lap on the calendar, and that'll be even more tricky in these conditions. Heading now down towards the last source hairpin. Very short one towards turn one. Both wheels locked up there does make the apex. We'll see very tentative on the throttle there. You can see short shifting all the way up to 5th gear, only really going full on the throttle once it got up into 6. Eau Rouge and Radillon, it's straightforward in the dry conditions. In the wet, big lift there from Tsunoda. Who can really blame him for that? Much easier to build your confidence through there rather than sending it on lap number 1 and ended up a long way into the barrier. Now heading down towards the first sector point. We'll see what time it is. 32.7, not too bad to be perfectly honest. I wonder whether we might see a few more drivers give intermediate tyres a go, if that's the sort of times that we are starting to see. He's made his way through Lacombe and Malmedy now, heading down the hill to the Bruxelles chicane. A slight overtaking opportunity if the car ahead does make a mistake in these conditions. Very tricky. In 2010, Lewis Hamilton actually went off there on his way to winning the race. TDB does retire in the pits. That's what that yellow flag is for, his qualifying ban, so he will be starting right at the back. But hey, at least he can maybe focus on a bit more of a different setup for the conditions. Pouhon then, this double left-hander, staying well off the curb there. Does Tsunoda, can't really blame him for that. Doesn't want to get caught out whatsoever at the moment. Now coming through the campus chicane, this right and left. Normally see the drivers really flying through this left-hander to get the best possible run through Paul Frere and Stavolo. Just heading down the hill here now to complete the second sector of the lap. We'll see the time coming up there, 1:26.6 through the second sector, 54 seconds to complete that. His first sector time has since been beaten by Niklas, so we are seeing drivers start to improve ever so slightly at the moment, as we're now heading across towards the finish line. Who is, well, heading through Blanchimont, of course, that fearsome left-hander where I think it was Luciano Berti had a horrific crash with Eddie Irvine, ended his Formula 1 career in 2001. And Tsunoda now heading towards the finish line. What lap is it going to be for him? Comes across the line, and it's 1:58.194.
I think that time's going to be, because I do see a couple purple. I think Neymar could be the next challenger here. It's a pretty competitive lap, though, in the wets, but obviously we'll have to see how it holds. But that's probably good. Remember last week, Tsunoda was kind of fast. He did all right in qualifying, but it all went wrong in the race. He was really struggling to keep it kind of planted. So we'll see if he kind of shook off demons going into the race today. And we'll see now with Neymar coming off the last corner. He does have a purple sector 1, but not a purple sector 2. So we'll see how he slots in here. It's going to be a 1:57.051.
Yeah, fantastic time there from Neymar. We've got a TDB saying in the chat that he thinks the amateurs are better. We are, about what, 15, 16 seconds off of what we'd expect them to be doing on a set of the full dry tyres. And on such a long circuit, maybe he's right there. Maybe the intermediates might be the tyres to go for. We've got Charlie Harris and Scott. Both of the Red Bulls are going for that. They could be the ones that the drivers are watching. On board with Carvin Robb then, third in the championship, winner of a race early on this season. He goes even faster on a 1:56.785 from him. Let's go on board then with some of these cars on a set of the intermediate tyres. Scott B7 is going to be the first man to get to that sector point. And what time does he do? 33.0. He's there or thereabouts on the intermediates. He's about half a second off the outright fastest we've seen in Sector 1 at the moment. That might mean during this next sector, where there's a lot more corners, obviously, he might start to struggle.
I hate to cut you off there, but Charlie Harris also on the intermediate, same Red Bull, just lost the back end. So it looks like it may be a little too wet for that because Harris just lost his back end just coming out of Sector 1. So a little bit of a mistake there. So it looks like both Red Bulls are trying the same strategy, though, but it looks like it's working out a little bit better for Scott than it is for Charlie Harris.
Yeah, it might be one of those where just a few laps learning where the grip is, and he might be able to get away with it as another car has gone off. That's Elite NL Dave, off at the same section then as Charlie Harris. If he's done it on a full set of wets, that does show you, of course, how difficult it can be. Tibos has gone fastest of everyone on a 1:56.690, and of course, being such a long track and in these conditions, you're not going to be able to get too many qualifying laps in. You've really got to try and make the most of these and make sure you don't invalidate, like we've seen Zoidema do, and Phoenix Dave, Tom as well.
Yeah, Zoidema was actually in a purple Sector 1, so he kind of threw away that lap. But at least the one positive is that with most of them being on wets, and at least looking at the weather conditions, the wets may not be the required tire going tomorrow. And since the wets do go a long way, you probably don't even have to pit. You kind of could just, the only thing would be the fuel load issue, but if you have the fuel a little bit high enough, it probably won't be that much of a concern.
Yeah, definitely. I think drivers will have fueled up quite a lot. There we go. Scott goes fourth on a set of the intermediate tyres, fastest of everyone in the final sector. So maybe now that he's got a bit more temperature built up in them tyres, we might see him improve ever so slightly more. Sway heads towards the line. He's slowest of everyone at the moment on a 1:58.992. We're at that awkward point where the drivers absolutely hate it, commentators and fans love it. It really doesn't look like there's much difference between the two tyres. The wets might give you a tiny bit more confidence perhaps as they shift more water and build more temperature, but I wonder if the intermediates are the outright faster tyres. Phoenix loses the car coming on that long run towards Blanchimont, loses the car on the curb. So many others have done that. He'll be into the pits for a new front wing. Very lucky that that's all he requires.
Honestly, I think the same thing may have just happened to his teammate Toman. He went kind of slow as well, so I don't think he actually broke his wing, so never mind, but he just kind of went a little slow. So both McLarens had a bit of an issue in the same section there. So again, it seems like one teammate does something, the other teammate does something. Both Red Bulls going to intermediates, both McLarens have problems right before that corner there. So now he's actually going a little bit slow as well. Yeah, I think that's actually Phoenix, never mind. But yeah, again, if I was we're both used to be drivers, or at least you're still a driver per degree. And honestly, I just don't think I'd go with the wets in this situation because, well, actually, no, intermediates I mean to say, because the wets I'd be more confident with. It's about the same. So why not go with the one that's a little bit more planted?
I think I'd definitely set my first lap on the wet tyres. And now that I've seen a few drivers going on the intermediates, I'll be like, right, if they can get anywhere near decent pace on them, I'm then changing to the intermediates, you know. This could work out absolutely fantastically, but at least you've got that banker lap in. Obviously, if you're Charlie right now, as he comes through Stavolo, he makes a big mistake on this lap. It's game over for him. He is improving quite a lot. He's 13 seconds up, which would put him on a 1:58.5. Not too far behind Sonoda at the moment, who has gone out on a set of the intermediate tyres. A few more drivers are going for it. So whether the session's expected to get slightly lighter rain, as Charlie Harris very close to invalidating his lap through Blanchimont, you don't really want to be touching the curb in these conditions.
You don't want to touch the curves in dry conditions, let alone wet conditions, because in dry conditions you may go for a ride if you're not careful. In wet conditions, even worse. So as Charlie Harris actually was a P3, so he pulled out a lot of time in Sector 3 there. So another 2 seconds. So good lap for Charlie Harris and the Red Bull. Going to be P3 just behind the Ferrari. So yeah, top 3. Actually, something worth noting is Tibos and Rob. Well, I think Tibos at least switched over to the intermediates and pits. So a lot of drivers in that top half, or switching the ints, are going to go out on a set of intermediates. So it looks like the wets, a lot of drivers feel like the wets are not the tire to be on right now. But the problem is with rain on the forecast for tomorrow, or at least later today, you could say, it's a situation where if the intermediate tires are called on and you need it, you can't burn up both your sets because you may be kind of shoot yourself in the metaphorical foot. But with 7 minutes to go, if you're like Charlie Harris and you're kind of stuck to what you have. But if you're a driver like Tibos, who may just switch now, or Carly Robb both going out right now instead of intermediate tires, you can kind of ride them to the end and still have a fresh set of tires for tomorrow.
Yeah, certainly. Charlie Harris had actually gone purple in Sector 1, so that's intermediates with purples in the first and last sector. At the moment, he has invalidated his lap. Neymar was originally purple in the first sector, and he's lost a bit of time in that middle. Now 3 tenths down on his personal best. So, like you said, a few more drivers starting to go out on the intermediate tyres. Those are the tyres everyone has set their fastest lap on. Another point with this dry weather, though. Well, dry weather at the start of the race, wet weather in qualifying. They're all going to get a free choice of tyres, so we might see some really mixed up strategies along the grid. I'm expecting, given the forecast, might see some drivers maybe risk for soft tyres, hoping it'll rain earlier, but I think we'll see a lot of drivers going for the medium tyres, hoping they can change straight onto a set of the intermediates once the rain comes in the race.
Yeah, indeed. Again, it's that's what makes an F1, especially in these conditions, kind of nice, is that now Scott actually goes on a P1 with a 155.58, so it's definitely drying, and it's drying quick, or maybe these drivers are just getting good confidence. But back to the tire strategy, it's something where it's kind of risk-reward. Some drivers may go long, because we don't know how heavy the rain will be, because it reminded of a race I did in Japan last season, where it was a situation where the changeover period was just when the softs were about to hit their window, per se. And when the softs hit, like some drivers came in, and then it became intermediates, and they kind of got royally screwed. You could say, well, me and a few other drivers got to stay out because one extra lap and got intermediates. So it's a situation where if the changeover period's right when the windows of soft ends, you may be kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you start on them. But if the rain kind of comes quick. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, but honestly, I think I'd go for a set of mediums if I was somewhere in the top or middle section.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I've seen it before where the weather... Well, it does say light rain on the screen. I've seen it before where we've had the weather that light. They never need a set of intermediate tyres. But drivers are gambling on the wet weather really coming, and it just sort of stays dry forever, and you never really get that changeover period. So who knows whether that could happen. If you are wondering where we are getting all this information from us, Tsunoda has a big moment there. Just clips the wall ever so slightly there, coming out of Curve Paul Frere. Not sure if he got any damage to his car, but that's a shame for him, as he was looking very good on that lap. If you're wondering where we are getting all this information from, it is from the lovely IGK TAS system, providing all the telemetry to this and various other leagues. And if you do want some help and any commands that you want to use to get all the information about drivers in the qualifying and in the race, I've put exclamation mark help in the chat. Then if you head over to the main live chat, you'll be able to get all that information there. Tsunoda, despite that massive moment, 155.903 puts him up into second. There's no question now, this track is intermediates.
Something that's worth noting right now is Zudima, who's on a lap coming near the end right now. We do have a Haas that's spun in front of him. I was going to say, he hasn't put down a time yet, and we've only got 4 minutes to go here. Luckily, as long as he doesn't invalidate these last 2 corners, this time will count. So he will put down at least a section. Because I was going to say, if our points are starting 15th, that could really affect him. But that helped him last week when he pitted. Now he'll be P2, so no real threat of the Williams driver starting in the back, because now Charlie Harris actually goes P1. And what's worth noting is Harris did that on 4 lap old intermediates, while Scott did it on 3, and the rest are on either 1 or 0. So maybe conventional wisdom says that Zudima, Tsunoda, Dave, and a few others can jump up to that top boys. Now TTG Woolsey now goes P1. So yeah, you would think that the tires that are fresher should be higher up, but yet both Red Bull drivers are kind of holding strong on older tires.
Yeah, that's an absolutely massive margin from Wolsey. We're full second. Yes, it's the longest circuit on the calendar. Yes, it is intermediate conditions, but that is still absolutely astonishing. Corbin Robb heading towards the finish line. It looks like he's going to fill in between that gap, go 75 thousandths off pole position. The lead man now out of our top 3 in the championship gets himself up into second. We are seeing more and more cars, of course, starting to improve, starting to set better times. Tsunoda's half a second up and again gets it wrong. Coming through Curve Paul Frere. He'd definitely be up there if he could just keep it nice and clean through that part of the circuit. Tibos further up the road. He's slightly slower in the middle sector and in the end stays in that position. Wonder if he did back off on that lap, but we'll follow the Aston Martin driver through the final chicane now, and he has actually invalidated. So 3 minutes 10 remaining. Wolsey on top, Corbin Robb second, Charlie Harris, Scott and Zoidberg, all the title protagonists up there towards the top in this session.
You know, something that's worth noting is that even though Wazalzi has the fastest lap, he only has a fastest sector in purple sector 3, while Corbin Robb has the best in purple sector 2, and now Charlie Harris has purple sector 1. So it's a situation where, as now I think Phoenix is retired. He retired in the pit. Actually, I think he may have crashed. I can't tell because he's on the front straight, but it looks like he's in the pit box per se, but no one's really around him, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. But back to the point, though, is that Robb, and Harris all have 1, 2, 3 in purple sectors. So it's kind of odd that not one driver is really leading all 3 sectors that has the pole run.
Yeah, Phoenix's car's just sort of stopped in the middle of the pit straight here. Charlie Harris goes fastest on 5-lap intermediates, and that is going to be, unless he goes for another lap this time, that is going to be the end of his qualifying. He's not going to have time to go around again. Wolsey is going around again, and this could well be the first driver to get underneath 154, 153.276 for Wolsey. We're in that situation that we see a lot in Formula 1. If you're the last car across the line, you might well get yourself pole position here. Maybe. Could even be a McLaren, although it does look like Tom's actually going to be one of the first drivers across the line. I think Wolsey, he might be the man who's timed it absolutely perfectly here to be the last driver to set a lap time. We're now on board with Tom, 5th in the championship. Mr. Consistent so far, scoring points in every single race, despite never actually finishing in the top 5. He makes his way round the final corner. What's his first run going to be in this qualifying session? Gets himself up into 2nd.
Yep, it looks like he's going to... he looks like he's going to try second lap. I thought he let off a little bit going to 1 there. You can still see a tire on the racing surface. There's someone else who's jumped up. I think Neymar Gaming's now 7th. Yes, he is. So if you're on a lap right now, this is your last run. If you're crossing the line now, if you want 1 more. As I think we just saw Sway jump up. No, it wasn't Sway. Someone jumped up higher again. Not 100%, but the point still stands, though, is like all drivers are out there going for at least an attempt. And now the only driver who's not to set a time right now is only F1 AMG, who's probably finished his first lap right now.
Yeah, Timos has got himself up into 2nd place. Dressing goes into 8th. We are really in the business end of this session. 1 minute remaining on board with F1 AMG. He's had some pace on occasion. It's just a bit of inconsistency, unfortunately for him. Best finish of 5th at the Austrian Grand Prix, where, of course, it was wet conditions at one point during that race. AMG comes across the line, gets himself up into 6th place.
Wosley just invalidated his lap, so unless he can get around quickly, I can't tell how much time's left because sector flag's in the way, but if he can get 1 more attempt, he could improve. And right now, he's still pole, but you don't want to hold on a time, especially when it seems like the track's getting better and better. But it looks like Charlie Harris is done. Yeah, 30 seconds ago, Wosley will get 1 more attempt. So he'll get probably 1 more attempt, and I think that will be that. So he'll be the last one to get 1 more run at it, because I think the Haas driver's on an out lap, and yeah, this will be his 1 lap. So yeah, he will be the last driver to cross the line under 30 seconds. So after him, that Ferrari behind him, I think, is David Choff. No, it's the other one of Carl Robb. His lap, this will be the last lap he can try.
Yeah, Carl Robb is green in the first 2 sectors at the moment, and he's improving massively in sector number 2. So this might actually, despite not setting a purple sector, this might be enough for Carwin Robb. As the checkered flag comes out, can he snatch provisional pole position away? He can indeed. 152.895. Tom's heading around the final corner now. He has improved in both the sectors. Can he get himself onto pole? No. Just misses out. It's every single car here. We're going to see times coming down. It could well be last man across the line, which is going to be Nicholas. Could get himself, well, on or close to pole position. Neymar gets 3rd.
Neymar in 3rd here. Next up is a Red Bull driver. It looks like Tibos is going a little slow, so his time will not improve. Next up, I think, was Charlie Harris. That was Charlie Harris. The other one, Adair Scott, who's a P5. Next up is, trying to find everything here, it is Charlie Harris, who does not improve. Sway going slow. He will not improve. And then we got the Aston Martin of, I think that's Sonoda. Yep, Sonoda up next. Currently at a 155, and now he'll go pole position, so he's finally put a lap together correctly, and he will be currently provisional pole and will not get bounced yet.
Then yet, of course, we'll have to wait and see. AMG coming around the final couple of corners now. Normally you want to avoid being in 10th place in this qualifying session. It's going to make absolutely no difference. Gets himself up into 4th place, though. David Shahud, he is improving at the moment. This lap time looks like it might be good enough to get him inside the top 10. Can it? Yeah, he can. 8th position at the moment. Zoidema, championship leader, coming around the final corner. He's not actually improving by too much at the moment, so this isn't going to be anywhere near pole position. It's only 11th place for Zoidema, and now we're just waiting for Wolsey. He's half a second up, just gets the braking zone right for the bus stop chicane, and he could well be on pole position on what I believe is his first race this season. The reserve driver gets it accelerated towards the line. What's it going to be for Wolsey? 152.698. He takes pole position at the Belgian Grand Prix. Sonoda in second. Oh, yeah, I've got the Haas, sorry, of Nicholas.
Still got the Haas, and he had a purple sector 1, so we'll see where he slots it. It was something. It was going to be not enough for anything, really. 153. So it's not updating on the task system to put him in a higher spot, but I guess that would put him... Oh, there it went. So, yeah, wait at the end. He got P10.
Yeah, P10 for Nicholas. Look how close it is for a wet session. To see 11 drivers within a second is pretty impressive. But it is Wolsey who goes fastest. Sonoda in second. Carvin Robb, best, of the top 3 in the championship. The one with the best qualifying in 3rd. Tom in 4th. AMG 5th. Neymar 6th. Scott takes 7th. David Shahud, Sway, and Nicholas round out the top 10. Tibos is 11th. The man who finished 2nd last week. The man who won last week is in 12th place. Zoidema, the championship leader. Bad qualifying for him. Can he make his way up in the race? Charlie Harris will be another one hoping to do that, as will Dresse. Elite NL Dave crashed out, as did Phoenix and TDV. Obviously, having that qualifying ban. A very interesting session. Started off looking like the wet tyres were going to be the right one. TDV sort of did the rest of the field a favour by going out on the intermediates, and I think made everyone realise, no, these were the tyres to be on. Have to see how things go in the race, of course. The majority of the field will have, if not a fresh set of intermediate tyres, they should have a fresh enough set of intermediate tyres to get them towards the end of the race. Charlie Harris, though, I think he only actually went out on that one set of intermediates, did 5 laps, and that probably cost him. That's probably why he's a bit further down the grid. It seemed to be those with the fresher tyres were finding the time.
Yeah, indeed. They were finding time, indeed. It felt like everyone was just jumping up and jumping down there. And it's kind of shocking that Zadim is down at 12. He did all right in Austria. I wasn't there. I heard from the pace notes that he was pretty all right in Austria. So it's a situation where it's kind of shocking, per se, that he may not be either. He was playing for the dry conditions here today, or he was just really struggling in the wet. And now he's kind of in the danger zone being at 12, surrounded by... He's got company with Tibos and Harris, kind of people around him in the standings. But a situation where one mistake, someone ahead of him crashes, could easily put him behind the 8 ball real quickly and allow maybe Scott or Rob to catch up, because they're like 3rd and 7th, 3rd respectively, as Sway and Chad both get set on the naughty stool by crashing under the formation lap.
Yeah, not ideal whatsoever. They're going to have a long wait, of course, around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit as we get ready for round number 6 here in Season 5 of the TTML TT Masters League with myself, Luke Etheridge, and Pepsi Freak alongside me. This high-speed blast through the Ardennes Forest with the 3 tyres that we're all used to seeing, soft, mediums and hards, and this time it's the 3 softest in the range for C5, C4 and C3 tyres. The 2021 Belgian Grand Prix might well have been one to forget, but there's been plenty of action here over the years. Michael Schumacher being renowned for this circuit, 1998 where he had the crash with Coulthard, made his debut here in 91, won in 92, and who can forget that battle with Mika Hakkinen as they went around Ricardo Zonta on the run down to Lacombe, and that could be where we see a lot of overtaking on this 7.004 kilometre circuit. 2 DRS zones, 1 on the pit straight and 1 down the Camel straight. Plenty of elevation change to challenge for drivers as we now take a look to see what tyres everyone is on. And as we suspected, the majority of the field on the mediums. Could be an interesting start though with Tsunoda on those soft tyres. He might not want to take the lead into turn 1, but definitely he'll be giving it a go down the Camel straight though.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, he'll be going aggressive in turn 1. Hopefully no one decides to Grosjean it in 2012, I want to say. Or even you could say the incident with Alonso going topsy-turvy in 2018 as well. So, again, a lot of mistakes have happened in turn 1. But at least the positive is, unlike in real life, we'll at least get a couple laps of the Belgian GP, at least here in TTML.
Yeah, even if we get quite a few safety cars, which I think once the weather starts changing, is very possible indeed. We saw how tricky it was for the drivers to do it on a set of the intermediate tyres. Imagine what it's going to be like on slick tyres. You'd be amazed looking at the sky at the moment to believe that we've got rain forecast in about 15 minutes to half an hour's time. But hey, this is what happens in Spa. The one time I drove past this circuit in real life, I was on a coach and it was absolutely throwing it down and you couldn't see about 10 feet in front of you. The weather was that bad. Hopefully we don't quite get to that stage. TDB just filling in the last slot on the grid. He's shown some pace this season. He's going to have a big comeback to do on that set of the soft tyres as we wait for the lights to come on here at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. We've got 5 lights. And we're underway then for the Belgian Grand Prix. Not a long hold whatsoever. It looks like Zoidberg's trying to get a move done straight away on Nicholas up ahead. And it's Tsunoda straight round the outside of Wolsey into turn 1 to try and take the lead of this race. They're going to be going side by side down the hill. All sorts of cars taking to the runoff area at La Source. It's a good job that's been widened in recent years that they are able to do that. But it's Tsunoda in the lead of this race then. Wolsey second, Tom in third, Carvin Rob, AMG battling there as well. Wolsey now tries to pull out the slipstream. He's got a fantastic run at this part of the circuit, coming down the Camel straight then towards Lacombe. Of course, no DRS on this lap then. They're still almost side by side, and I think Wolsey is going to take the lead of this race again. Tsunoda shuffled down into second, Tom still third, Rob fourth, Scott in 5th place. Nicholas has had a pretty good start as Tibos finds himself getting shuffled down the order, and now Charlie Harris trying to come down the inside of the Haas car into Bruchel, gets the move done on the brakes as again Tibos is running wide there. All sorts of action happening on the first lap, and that is Tom who's round.
Tom is around here indeed. He's got to get it refired quickly and get it respired, and a good qualifying session for him, but really got kind of struggled there. A slight mistake there. But something I was kind of noting is that why Tibos is going a little bit slow here is because he does have a bit of a broken front wing. So he has to probably fix that and try to limp around. He's definitely losing a lot of time. He's got about 25% damage on that. But looking at the hit Fluix as well, per se, is also Zadima did get hit on the safety car, not safety car, the free start there. So it was a little bit argy-bargy in the back.
Yeah, certainly. Fantastic starts for some of these drivers. TDB up 7 places. Charlie Harris up 7. It looks like Nicholas, who was up 2, is now going to only be up 1. As Zoidema, is he going to try it round the outside at Blanchimont on the first lap of the race? It's a brave move on any lap of the race. He's giving it a go, though. He's sticking his nose in there, and I think he might be able to get this move done on the brakes. Nicholas has gone very deep round the outside of Neymar, and that is how you turn defence into attack in a second. They're taking the small 24-hour line there, and look at TDB's exit.
He was in 12th a minute ago, and now he's up to 8th or something. He gained 3 spots there. That was aggressive. He just kind of took advantage of the mistakes around him, and now he's 3 up, and now Zudema's kind of under pressure from an Aston Martin behind him and Sway, and it looks like Zudema could be going side-by-side up Rouge here with Sway. Hopefully he backs out to survive, and he will not. They're going to go side-by-side, but Sway will hold the spot, but Sway is around, so Sway got a little bit too greedy. He's going to back it into the tire barrier. Looks like no damage, but definitely a oozed ego, you could say.
Yeah, I just wonder how that rear wing is feeling at this moment in time. Of course, in previous games, that wouldn't have been a problem. On this one, it's going to be a big issue for him. A nightmare start for both Alpines. Down at the bottom, Sway, if he has got any damage, he won't be able to fix it in this race. And obviously, Matt Tibos now coming out on a set of the medium tyres. Scott and Carwin Robb have been battling, and Scott has now got himself up into 3rd place using those soft tyres well. So you've got to say, Wolsey's done an incredible job on those mediums to sort of build the gap that he has. These front two are trying to get away a bit here as Sonoda just runs a tiny bit wide coming through Pujon.
I mean, you get far enough away, you're going to be good if the rain does come. You do have to pay the yellow flag sector 2. I think that is actually Nicholas. Yep, Nicholas is around. That could trigger safety car. We'll check where Tom is. Yeah, he's gone far wide there, and he's off the racing surface, so it may not be a call here. I don't see any flags coming out, so I think we'll be good. But something that kind of just added insult to injury is Tibos pitted to change his wing, and then broke his wing coming out of pit lane. So he may have to pit again. Is also Tom's around too, so bit odd. So it's all gone wrong for the Alpines. But to kind of go back to the point, yeah, I think Walls and Suno maybe are just kind of working together here, knowing that, hey, we're both reserved, we're both kind of down the pecking order here. Why don't we work together, try to pull away from the contenders Scott and Rob, and try to make our own luck or make our own magic?
Yeah, certainly. Who can blame him? DRS is going to be activated this time around. Sonoda sets the fastest lap of the race. They have broken the DRS window to those behind. And at this point in the race is where Sonoda needs to sort of make hay while the sun shines. While he's got those, well, literally while the sun shines, while he's got those soft tyres in a good condition at this moment in time, needs to try and work his way up the order. We'll follow him on board here through Rouge and Radion. A bit too far behind for the Dirty Air to really have an effect, but you'll see the DRS open. You'll see him close it in. I think, though, he might just be far enough ahead to, well, far enough behind, actually, that Wolsey doesn't really have to bother defending here. So there we go. Wolsey does maintain the lead of this race. Carvin Robb on the back of Scott. He'll be fairly happy, I think, at the moment, just to sort of sit behind the Red Bull. He's on the better tyres. As long as he can, well, he's on the tyres that will last longer. As long as he can stay within DRS range, this race might definitely come to those drivers on the mediums.
Yeah, indeed. It will eventually go farther here. Yeah, it looks like, I was going to say, yeah, it definitely will go wide. Phoenix was a little wide there. It's going to allow Dave to kind of go side by side. And also, worth noting is Zudema got around Neymar, so Zudema already up to A, so he is making quick work here. But yeah, the medium runners definitely will be on the advantage as long as it goes long. The medium runners will definitely be on the stronger strategy here than the soft runners, because the only 4 people on softs, one's in second, one's in third, the other 2 are in 13th and 14th, and one of them had a pit. So definitely the mediums seem like they'll be the strong tire, and Sonoda and maybe Scott are kind of hoping for rain, or those tires last a lot longer than they probably should.
Yeah, they'll definitely be hoping that the rain does come earlier. We are on board with Neymar then, on the back of Zoidema. Like the qualifying performance for the Williams cars, 12 and 17. Zoidema's up to 8. His teammates jumped him and jumped 10 cars in total. Absolutely fantastic first laps for TDB, using those soft tyres fantastically to get himself up into that 7th position. He is now on the back of Charlie Harvis as Dave and Phoenix are battling side by side again. A bit of wheel banging between the two of them, but Phoenix is just staying ahead for now. He's into 12th, and that'll be frustration, obviously, for Dave, that he can't get that move done. Sonoda looks a lot closer this time, coming up the hill. You don't want to be too close, of course, because you'll get affected by the dirty air, and well, you might even have to lift off. But I think there's not going to be a lot more they can do about this move.
Yeah, he'll get this pass here. Something else we're doing, Scott was just out of DRS range, no DRS, but here comes Sonoda around the outside, probably going to be inside, going to make that pass, clean as a whistle. Sonoda up the first, Wilesy down the second, and now Scott, though, is in DRS, and if he can stay there long enough, he'll bring Rob, AMG, Tibos, all with him. So, as I think Zudema, he just got passed by Neymar, so it looks like there's a bit of gap. So 7th to 1st are kind of in a bubble, and then you got 8th all the way to 11th in a bubble as well, which is not good for our championship leader right now. He's kind of in that second pack.
Yeah, these two need to sort of work together as much as they possibly can, or just even hope for slight battling from those ahead at the 1 points of the circuit. You don't lose too much time when you overtake on a DRS zone, like we saw with Sonoda and Wolsey, and actually with Neymar and Zoidema, to be perfectly honest. If you do it at any other part of the circuit, someone's going to be on a compromised line and you are going to start slowing each other up. There's a bit of a wobble there from Neymar. It's just going to allow Zoidema to close up ever so slightly. We are on lap 4 of this race. We do think rain is going to come round about, I'd say at the earliest we're going to start seeing it, lap 9 or lap 10. Judging by the sky at the moment, might even be a few laps after that. And that's a risk these soft runners are going to have to take. How long do they dare take these tyres? Because I imagine once they come into the pits, if they do have to come in, they might just chuck on another set of the softs in the hope that when it does rain, it rains hard enough that they have to go to intermediates, because then the rule about 2 different types of dry tyres becomes irrelevant.
But then you got to remember your point you also made as well, though, is that in some cases it may be light enough that you don't actually have to pit, as now TDB goes fastest with a lap on track. So it may be a situation where he may get to that point, but like I said, according to our TVS, it was supposed to be about 30 minutes after the race start. And if they do about 2 minutes a lap, that should be around half distance, give or take. So it could rain, but if it's not heavy enough, as now we see Wazzy about to pass Sonoda again, he will, and Scott getting a little peek as well, though, so Scott has joined this pack. But to finish my point, if it doesn't rain enough, you maybe just shoot yourself in the foot and have to do a third stop. So it maybe just have to put on a set of mediums and just hope if the rain becomes heavier or lighter. You just got to hope. It's better to probably go on a set of mediums and be wrong than on a set of softs and have to pit again and chuck on like another set of tires and lose time because of another pit stop.
Yeah, certainly. If you do go for the soft, you are sort of committed to having to come into the pits again. At least if you go on the mediums, even if it doesn't rain massively hard, you won't get away with it. Sonoda's trying to come under a lot of pressure here from Scott, who's got fantastic pace. He's going to be tempted to have a go down the inside. No, he's not, but Sonoda's... Oh, Scott's had a massive moment there, and Carvin Rob says thank you very much. Round the outside, gets himself up into 3rd place, and I think Sway has had a spin as well, coming into no name there. He's way down in 15th place. Needs to be careful that he doesn't overheat those tyres. A bad lap from Sonoda and Scott. All of a sudden, Wolsey's broken the DRS window. Perfect for the Alfa Romeo driver.
Yeah, that little mistake there really helped Wazzy, but we saw them catch back up, though. It's only about a second here, so if Sonoda can be a little bit heavier on the brakes, or Rob, obviously, because he's on the same tire tread as Wolsey, can get just a little bit close, he's not all candy and roses. It didn't look like Wolsey has enough pace to break completely away. So, obviously, right now, he's within a second. We just fast left the race, so what do I know? But looks like the activation point's coming up here, and I think Sonoda will just be in DRS range. It's going to be close, but I think he'll just survive.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he will just survive at the moment. Scott all over the back of Carwin Bob, so trying to get back, obviously, from that slight mistake that he made earlier on. And this pack's still getting away at the moment from from Neymar, who is 2.5 seconds behind. Look how close Scott was there, coming up the hill and straight forward pass. Thank you very much. Nothing Carwin Bob can do about that. Now he is down into 4th again. Scott gets himself back into 3rd as Sonoda's round.
Yep, Sonoda around there. I just was noticing he just kicked the back out on his own accord, and it caused a little bit of a coordinating effect. And that's going to definitely have Wazzy. He's now 2.5 clear. It just kind of maybe came like it's wacky races, just dropped the oil slick, and there we go. And now 3-second gap, but Sonoda's had a problem keeping the car straight throughout the whole race. We saw that in Silverstone last week, and it's now kind of caught him in the rear end here today. Just clipped a little bit too much of that apex, and that is that down in Radeon.
Yeah, that is it for him. And look at the gap. Wolsey's now got 3 seconds. Carwin Rob all over the back of Scott. We're probably starting to get to the point where the mediums do start to have a bit of that performance peak over a set of the soft tyres, so might be something to watch out for. And also, well, all that's been going on, Neymar's actually caught right up to the back of TDB. I wonder if that was part of that concertina effect that you mentioned. They all sort of came together like an accordion, as you said, and that's just Neymar, who had that bit of a gap to the car in front, was able to take advantage of that, and he's been able to break away from Zoidema now, who's all over the back of Sonoda, but has really been held up in all this situation. On board then with the championship leader. No matter what happens today, he will be the championship leader after this race. It is already starting to look like it might be a bit of damage limitation, as that is Dressy out of the race. That is through coming on the exit of Blanchimont. That is a very strange place to lose the car.
I've seen it happen before. Sometimes when you get a little on that paint, you can lose the back end and kick it. So that's what I assume happened. He kind of got off of the paint, maybe clipped the grass, and that was that. I've seen it happen, and it's happened to me once or twice in... I wouldn't like to admit, but it's happened when you kind of push a little bit too hard and you're running not a lot of downforce. So it may be a situation where you just kind of wet too much for something, and that cost him. But again, no safety car here. So something that maybe Sonoda, Tibble, Sway kind of want to see is now TDB's pitting. So he's going to be the first one coming in. But I don't think he got any damage. So, yeah, he's pitting kind of early here, but he's also going to set us off. So, different strategies. Now we got Scott passing Rob here, and they're side by side, which is all just helping Woolsey drive away, as now that gap's going to grow as the top two fight. So they probably should just elect who the faster car is, let that one lead the pack here, and just slowly try to catch Wolsey, because right now they're fighting. That just cost them the other whole second with Scott and Rob going side by side here, and it's just not helping them dearly catch the Alfa Romeo up in the lead.
Yeah, we had Scott say this last week when Carwin Rob had a penalty. He wasn't really enjoying fighting with Rob, but Scott just, and that was very just, puts a wheel over the white line there. Now drops a 3-second penalty as well. If we get any safety cars, which seeing as we've had 2 big crashes, looks unlikely, as now Rob has that massive moment. It's almost like they're hitting a bump on that part of the circuit, because he didn't seem that near the curb where he just sort of loses the car, has to correct it. And that just allows Scott to escape ever so slightly. They're dragging AMG. Charlie Harris there with him. Neymar's just on the back of this train as well. Both Red Bull drivers with penalties. Other penalties as well for... Well, Sway has 6 seconds. Tibos, TDB and Sonoda all have 3 seconds at this moment in time. Will we see the rest of the soft runners coming to the pit soon as Charlie Harris? That's a late one down the inside of AMG, but he gets to move stuck fantastically done there by Charlie Harris. He's up into 4th. Really, these Red Bulls, we said it last week, they've come alive in the last couple of races.
Yeah, they're fighting. They're still going to fight for a championship, but definitely Scott has a chance to catch Sonoda before the not Sonoda, sorry, Zudima before the season ends. But it's a situation where, at least the very least, if they can't get the drivers' championship, at least try to get the constructors. At least try to get something for this season. It looks like the Red Bulls are catching fire, and they're trying their very hardest to at least make this constructors fight a fight here. As we now see Rob going to answer back here, and now the gap is going to 5 seconds. So they really need to settle on something, because Wolsey is just like saying thank you very much for Sonoda spinning, because that was the catalyst that has really helped out him pull away far here, and is now basically with that whole 2 through 6 all in a pack, and with Zudima slowly catching that pack, it's just going to keep being argy-bargy fighting until the pit stops. And again, unless Wolzini speeds in the pit lane or something, this is his race right now to lose.
Yeah, certainly. It's all looking really good. It just depends on when the weather comes, and it's now cloudy. I think you can definitely say around here. We'll see what the TAS system describes the weather as at this moment in time. I guess it is still describing it as fairly cloudy at the moment. We're not quite at the overcast point.
Yep, it's saying cloudy. It feels like just a light smog is falling on. Just a very light smog. It's just kind of dropped on the circuit. Not enough to really hurt visibility, even though it's virtual. But yeah, just a little okay, this is like you're in a forest basically, or early morning commute somewhere where just the fog's come down a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely has at the moment. The 2 Mercedes getting very close together. AMG and Neymar. Neymar all over the back of his teammate here. He's going to have to go the long way round at the bus stop chicane, though. We've seen 2 Mercedes crash before at this circuit, and AMG very kindly there lets his teammate through. So Neymar gets himself up into 5th position. His best finish so far was in Italy, where he had a 7th. He's another driver who's scored points in every single race, got pole position in that Monza race before I had a spin, and he looks like he's on for a pretty decent result here. If things stay as they were, he could even get a podium at this circuit, because he's got the 2 Red Bulls ahead of him, both with penalties. And I think for Scott, we are now starting to see that those soft tyres are wearing a tiny bit more. He's not going to be close enough to Carwin Rob to get this move done on the DRS, and that could be exactly what Rob needed. A bit like we've seen with the 2 Mercedes. Maybe it might be worth the Red Bull drivers actually swapping over, although Scott got a lot closer at the end of that straight than I thought he was going to.
That's what I'm thinking as well here. Just kind of because right now there are differing strategies here. Let Scott may just give the quick the go symbol to Harris when there's a situation where it won't cost too much time. But something else that kind of catches my eye is you got basically 2 Ferrari plant cars, 1, 2, both Red Bulls 3, 4, both Mercedes 5, 6. So it's kind of like a little bit of Noah's Ark. We do have the sector 2. I think that is Tom. No, it's actually Phoenix around here. Wrong way around. It looks like he was kind of battling someone. He was around actually David Sonoda. So I don't think he was actually close enough to get hit, but he's kind of lost his back end here. But to conclude my point, yeah, like I said, Scott may, coming up here just past the next DRS section here, he may just let Harris go and let him stay close to Scott. I'm sorry, Rob, so he doesn't hold him too much.
Yeah, certainly. He is now, well, there we go. He's just dropped outside of DRS range, so this might be the opportunity for Charlie. I mean, he could do with getting a move on, because Neymar seems to be showing really good pace on this part of the circuit. Phoenix gets himself a 3-second time penalty there, perhaps pushing a bit too hard to recover from that mistake earlier on, as things are starting to look very overcast here all of a sudden. Charlie, is he going to dive one down the inside of his teammate? No, he is not. And Scott, perhaps wisely, given how cloudy it's looking, decides to stay out on circuit. Just stretch those soft tyres as long as possible. They've not had to do qualifying on them, so that's an extra lap and a half that they might be able to get, but they are 60% pretty much on
Yeah, I
the
was
front
gonna
left
say.
after 9 laps. So
He's not going to make it
end of
much
lap
farther.
11.
Yeah. And then he's in puncture range, so that rain's not going to come within the time those tires to make it to the end. So it may be smarter if he thinks the rain's coming, just pit now, go on another set of softs, and just try to set hot lap mode. Go aggressive. Because right now, if you think the rain's coming, right now pit, go for another set of softs, and just go aggressive, because what do you got to lose?
Yeah, certainly. You can see how much he's struggling under braking there. He got passed by his teammate in the DRS and got passed by Neymar around the outside at Lacombe. He went for a defensive move, and in the end, Neymar was like, fine, leave the door open for me on the racing line. Thank you very much for the gap to the leader, who is still out there, by the way. He's just doing such a good performance at the moment. The gap to the leader is 5 seconds now. Wolsey in the lead of this race. There'll be a few drivers pretty glad that he has only got a reserve seat, and this is the first time this season he has raced, because he does not look to have put a foot wrong so far. Not even got any warnings. There is still time for that to change. Of course, things can happen very easy here as he goes very wide there. I'll be very surprised if that wasn't.
Charlie Harris, I think, got a snap of oversteer there. I think it was Harris. I just saw a Red Bull kick out. Sorry. I just, looked at it. I saw his back and go, whoop, like he was drifting through that corner there. It was one of the two. I think it was Harris. He clipped that corner, and it just kicked out horribly. So just kind of, I thought he was going to be a passenger for a second, and we were going to see a safety car. So, yeah, that was very frightening.
Yes, it's weird how many times I've seen it. I've seen it on the exit of that chicane where drivers have dropped a wheel on the gravel and got things wrong. Never really too much on the entrance. AMG all over the back of Scott at this moment in time. Scott, well, now you'd imagine you've either got to come in, like you said, put a set of softs on, or just try to hold on until those tyres go pop. And they're probably not too far away from going pop.
Yeah, he's 5%. 5% a lap, so he'll be at 70 on lap 12 and 75 on lap 13. So puncture range is 13. So and he maybe can go another one. So he's hoping rain 13, 14. But even if it does rain, it's not going to be heavy enough to go anywhere on intermediates. So maybe he's just thinking, go on softs to hards and hope it's not wet enough per se. Just try to pit and then work that strategy out. But he's losing so much time that he's too indecisive right now. He needs to make a call here. And I don't think staying out till puncture range is going to be the smart choice. Now he's going to get passed by AMG. And if he's not careful, Zadima is going to tiptoe right behind him. And the driver that's currently leading the point standings is going to get by him on track without a pit stop. So it's kind of all gone wrong, per se, for Scott.
Yeah, certainly. It's going pretty well for his teammate, although he does have that penalty. I wonder whether that's why TDB came in fairly early for the mediums. He thought, right, it's not going to rain early enough for the softs to be any use. Just come in, do your pit stop onto a set of mediums, and if it doesn't rain hard enough, hey, at least I can get to the end of the race. If it does rain, yeah, I've lost myself a few places, but at least I'm not putting myself at risk of getting a puncture at the moment. As you can see how much Scott is struggling. He's already dropped a second behind AMG, and this is really holding Zoidema and David Chahud, who we haven't spoke about much today, but he's just doing his own thing at the moment in 8th place, really holding these two drivers up at the moment.
He is indeed. He's kind of a moving chicane right now. And Zadima, though, is kind of aggressive because, like I said, he doesn't want to go too aggressive trying to make the pass, because if he doesn't, it breaks his wing, he's really shooting himself in the foot. But at the same time, he's cost himself so much time here that now he looks like he's going to go for a possibly on the outsider. So we'll see if the Williams driver can hang it, but then kind of plays back. But when you have a big enough championship lead, you can be conservative. It looks like the Ferrari of Carly Robb just got passed by Neymar Games. So it looks like the Mercedes are now swarming the Ferrari.
Yeah, I think it was a slight mistake there, actually, by Darwin Robb. And what might have caused that slight mistake, as you see on the halo, we've got rain, folks. We have got rain here at this Bar-Francorchamps circuit, about halfway through the race. So a lot earlier than the 30 minutes, and probably not too far after the 15 minutes. As Ferrari and Mercedes side by side up over Rouge and Radion. Darwin Robb's got the move done. He's got himself a penalty here. Who's got the DRS? I think it's Rob who's got the DRS, and now comes AMG trying to fight. We couldn't nearly be 3 wide here. Mercedes, Ferrari. AMG's going to try it around the outside. Oh, both of them into Lacombe. He's got the move done, has he? No, Rob just holds on for now. He got himself a penalty there. Very brave from them. In dry conditions, on fresh tyres, that'd be very brave. Never mind once it's getting a bit damp and you're on worn medium tyres. Rob, he's got the move. Well, he's got past Neymar, who's lost 2 positions. He's got himself a penalty in doing so and just allowed Charlie Harris to escape ever so slightly.
That indeed just went for an aggressive move there. And like AMG saw kind of the dollar signs. He saw a chance to make something happen there, stuck it, and it just didn't work. Rob just hung on for dear life, but he's going to be under threat again here. But I think it's kind of risk rewarded because, yeah, he got the spot, but he also got 3 seconds. And that's going to kind of hurt him with the pack behind him being so close. Again, those mistakes could add up near the end. But to kind of go back to our Ferrari watch, he is actually Sonoda's at 75 on his tires, which is kind of worth noting. But yeah, AMG Scott is at 74, about to hit 75. So we may see tire go pop, and there's no DRS not been turned off yet, so it's clearly not wet enough. So he's basically, he maybe just kind of shot himself in the foot horribly here.
Yeah, Wolsey was a huge 8/10 slower on the last lap than he was the lap before. That's definitely nowhere near a changeover point, is it? As Phoenix, he had that spin earlier. He's now right on the back of Tsunoda. That gives him a little tap there. I think Tsunoda just starting to slide ever so slightly as TDB. He's coming in. This seems very early. It is a long lap, of course. You don't want to be caught out by coming through La Source and it starts raining extremely heavily. But TDB into the pits, a bit surprising. He's gone through it that early.
Also, because he pitted for the mediums earlier, so why is he pitting so early when he knows he can go the distance while some of these other drivers will be struggling on those hot medium tires? He had the tire advantage, and now he's going on center intermediates, but I guess he's going risk-reward. As we do have the yellow flag Sector 2, Sector 3, that is Sway, who's lost the back end. So, Sway's, and actually, I think, yep, Sway's got a puncture. So, Sway's left front will look punctured, but yeah, I think he's got a puncture maybe. And other than that, Tsunoda is near puncture range along with Scott. So, I'm shocked Scott and Tsunoda didn't dive in. But with TDB kind of having the ability to go longer in the tooth. And yeah, he's going in the wall. Yep, it's not clearly wet enough yet because now he's hit the wall and he's got a broken wing.
Yeah, and I think any chances of a good result for TDB, well,
it's a virtual safety car, though, so... I'm sorry to cut you off, just saying it's a virtual safety car, so it's a situation where it looks like Sway's going to come in, probably take us at intermediates, but now with the VSC, I still don't see anyone trying to try it yet.
Yeah, I think... well, you might, if you're Wolsey, your mind might be made up by, is the VSC still going to be active by the time you get round to the pit lane? You might be tempted to go for it. For Sway, he's actually changing onto a set of the medium tyres. Whether he's just forgot to change it or whether he thinks they're the right ones, I'm not so sure. We won't be able to do a comparison on this lap to see what the lap times are like, obviously, because we have had that virtual safety car. But Wolsey, he is carrying on at this moment in time. We'll see if any of the other runners are starting to get punctures. Charlie Harris is looking good at the moment. As Zoidema drive-through penalty.
Correct. That is not good. Not good at all, especially on the train. He's now diving down quickly, knowing he's got to serve it quick. But yeah, he's now going to really be behind the 8 ball because he's going to probably have to pit again. So, that is not the time for the number 71. It looks like just behind him, Scott's pitting as well, knowing he can't go any longer on the tires. But Tsunoda staying out another lap, and his tires are 81. So I think Tsunoda may be DOA to rights here with those tires.
Yeah, he's going to have a struggle. Hopefully for his sake, they don't go pop through Ovush and Radion, because if they do, you're not saving it. You're just having a big hit in the wall, as there has been a spinner, and I think that's just TDB obviously going slowly with his broken front wing at this moment in time.
Almost hits old lady's house, but yeah, he is just losing the back end there horribly. Yeah, he's going to have to come in quickly and pit, and yeah, so it's clearly not time yet. DRS has still not been deactivated yet, so the virtual marshals still think it's dry enough. But yeah, Scott has come in for an intermediate set of tires along with Dave, so keep an eye on those two as well. If they maybe one lap later was smarter.
Yeah, we'll see how much time these two gain, maybe relative to those cars ahead of them, obviously, that are on that set of the medium tyres. TDB's coming in. This will be for a new front wing, and I imagine just another set of the intermediates, because now they're the only tyres that you are going to be coming into the pits for, and in fact he's retired from the race. So this has been it was a nightmare lap for the Williams team all of a sudden. TDB having that accident, whether that was what caused a virtual safety car or it was Sway having a bit of a moment, I'm not quite so sure. But the end result was that Zoidema then got a drive-through penalty because of that virtual safety car. He's all over the back of Tsunoda at this moment in time, as that yellow flag is just for TDB coming out of the pits. And Wolsey, he's heading around the bus stop. Is this now the lap you come in? No. He is staying out on circuit. We'll see what lap time this is going to be for Wolsey, because I don't think there was a virtual safety car at that point. 151.7. They're still up 2 and a bit seconds, I think, faster than what we saw in qualifying.
Yeah, indeed. I honestly think, again, it's not really worth the risk. Remember, Wazzy has 8 seconds to Charlie Harris. You don't have to pit aggressively, because even if Charlie Harris pits and goes on intermediates, he's probably got another 2-3 laps of, like, maybe 2 laps of fresh intermediates before he would have to catch you. So you got time to play this conservatively. You don't want what happened to TDB. You don't have to force your hand like Scott or Tsunoda still staying out. I'm on a shock he's still going in the right direction here. But back to the point, though, you still got Scott and Dave, who maybe it will work out, but it looks like they're kind of struggling a little. We'll check where the times are on this bank lap, but now we got AMG passing Charlie Harris, though, and they're still battling like it's dry enough conditions. So the intermediates will be probably strong in a couple laps, but is it too little too late? Because Scott obviously was forced into it. But I just think, again, it's not time yet. But here's the thing, is looking at the tire strategies as well, they're about 50%. TG Wolves is at 63% on his left front, so he needs to pit soon. And if it doesn't get wet enough, he may have to make that difficult decision about maybe 2-3 laps time.
Yeah, Scott was the lap before when he came out of the pits about 6.5 seconds behind, so he's lost a tiny bit there. We'll just see how he comes there. Well, actually, just seeing his braking through like home, he's gained 0.3 of a second. So if anyone is watching, if any engineers watching in the chat, now I think might be the lap to tell your drivers to come into the pits. Although that time, to be fair, is to Sonoda, who's going around basically on ice skates at this moment in time, and we'll be losing all sorts of time. If we get the gap up to the leaders, 41.3 coming through the no-name corner, he's still losing about 1/10 of a second. So it's getting close. Calling it wrong could well cost you, because this is such a long circuit. Maybe you can't afford to. Maybe you can't afford to just go for that one extra lap. Carwin Robb has got ahead of Charlie Harris, so he's back up into third place. Both of these would drop behind AMG, as AMG, the first of the big names to come into the pits, and they're all starting, well, a lot of them are starting to follow him in. David Chahud has to stay out, obviously, for the double stack, but Wolsey and David Chahud, for 2 cars of the leaders, as we shall say, they're the ones that are staying out on circuit. All the others coming into the pits, and this has to be, as you can see, for the Greenwald Intermediate. 7 laps to go.
Yep, as I'm kind of shocked here again, no DRS still activated. Unless I missed something flash on the screen here, obviously that could be a case. But no flash yet, so they're putting in intermediate tires. Obviously they have to pit again because tires are getting kind of old here. They're probably going to lose more time out to the intermediate runners. But it's a situation where I'm shocked maybe one driver doesn't try it. Like maybe someone in the back, like Tsunoda when he decides to pit. Maybe as he's now pitting right now, just go on a set of mediums, try it. It may be ice skates, but DRS has still not been disactivated yet. So maybe it's a situation where you gain time by gambling, but honestly, that would be a very risky gamble, and you better hope that it doesn't get any heavier. But yeah, only 2 drivers stay out are Walzine and David Shawn, who I guess didn't want to risk the double stack. Yeah,
and I can tell you that AMG is actually catching up to David at the moment, so I think they might have gone on the right lap. I've seen it a lot on this game. The rain light is flashing on the back of Wolsey's car. That red light is flashing, and it's not because of his DRS. He's at 80%. I've seen it before on this game where the DRS doesn't get activated until quite late, it seems, compared to F1, well, definitely compared to 2019 and F1 2020, as Wolsey taking it so careful at this moment. We'll see if he should still retain the lead in this race fairly comfortably in the end, but we'll have to see how he copes when he's getting his tyres up to temperature and getting used to the confidence on where to brake. AMG, Charlie Harris, and all those drivers behind him will know where to slow down, of course, but it should still be Wolsey comfortably in the lead. Dave gets himself a penalty. Sway coming in off that set of mediums. It has been a nightmare race for Alpine. Tibos and Sway having problems on lap number 1. Hopefully Sway decides to carry on, because it's such a long track. You never know here. If there's a safety car, he could be right back into play here, as Wolsey does come into the pits then to get rid of those medium tyres, as does David Chahud. AMG should still, I believe, be a long way back behind Wolsey. We'll see how much that gap has closed, though.
Yep, intermediate tires for that. Now DRS has been disabled. Yep, definitely intermediates now. So there it finally pops. And David Chell should be going on the intermediates as well. Yes, he is. So yeah, AMG will definitely come out, but it's going to be closer than it was. Like, yeah, it's 4 seconds. So they did gain 4 seconds, maybe 6. Actually, 2 seconds from doing that 1 extra lap there. So again, Woolsey did have the ability to risk it, so no harm, no foul. But now the other question is, though, is with setups in front wing changes, how many drivers are able to change their front wing? Change the downforce on their front wing. And it looks like Phoenix got a little squirrely there. And how many of these drivers that maybe have a drive setup on the car may struggle for these last couple laps?
Yeah, that is a good point. Of course, you are allowed to change on the fly the differential, and you can change the front wing in the pits. You might be able to change the brake bias as well, just to adjust the fact that you are putting a bit more downforce on the front of the car. No DRS, it is going to make it fairly hard for overtaking to happen, although the braking zones have lengthened somewhat, so that might just negate each other. Charlie Harris defending from Carvin Robb at this moment in time. A big loser, well, 2 big losers in that pit stop period. David Chahud was right behind these drivers, and the man he's battling with at the moment, Neymar, because Neymar went for the double stack, and you've got to say, didn't really cost him too much as compared to David, who stayed out that 1 extra lap. There wasn't really a lot they could do. Definitely damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, you were kind of screwed there. It was basically half and half. You either pit and you'd be where Neymar is, or if you stayed out, you'll be where David Chahud is. So you're kind of stuck there. The only thing was maybe, the only thing you could have done is maybe let off a little bit when trying to come in the pit lane and maybe try to save it, but even then, it's just, yeah, you were kind of metaphoric. Whoever was the fast car, whoever was leading at the time, was going to take advantage. And I think Charlie Rob's a little bit happy about that because he is currently in the championship fight more than David Chaho is. So it's a situation where I don't think there was team orders. It's just a situation where it just kind of played out correctly. As now Rob gets 3 from multiple warnings, trying to pass Charlie Harris around the outside, keeping it aggressive. And it looks like he's going to get the advantage going into the hairpin. He will take the spot, but at the cost of 6 seconds of time penalties now. And definitely going to make it hard to get anywhere close to top stuff of the podium with Neymar. Well, Neymar's 5 back, so if he can get a move on, he could maybe still get a podium spot if he can get 3 clear of Harris.
Yeah, Rob, he loves doing the moves at the dramatic corners here when maybe most people would have backed off and probably not got that penalty. It'll be interesting to see. Looked like there was hardly any room between himself and Charlie Harris, so he might actually be able to get that one removed. But these two, well, Charlie's going to have the slipstream. He's going to have a bit of dirty air. What can he do? Without any DRS, can he get this move done on the run down to Lacombe? 5 laps remaining. Wolsey and AMG looking pretty good at the moment to get their best, well, Wolsey's first result of the season, and it'll be AMG's best result as well. Neymar, never know if these two start battling up ahead of him. He might be able to get himself a podium still, his first of the season, as Sway has had enough. It is a broken front wing. It definitely a race to forget for Alpine.
Yeah, indeed. It was kind of struggling at the start there, and it's just, you kind of could tell when, no offense to Tibos, I'm sorry to rib you a little bit on this, but came out of pit lane and broke his wing out of the, so you kind of could tell, now he's going to go a lap down here. It's just, it's been a race for good Alpine. And it's still play, but it just went wrong and adjust going into next season. But back to the other battles here, really that's only the major battle. Scott has caught the back of Phoenix, and something worth noting is, now Stima gets another that Stima, even though he got the drive-through, pitted, and then pitted for a set of tires, he's actually only about 2 behind Scott, which is definitely good for the standings. And it's also something else worth noting is that Scott didn't really gain that, he kind of, I was going to say that he kind of didn't gain as much time as you think he would. Kind of pitted too early, so now we've got a virtual safety car. Yeah,
virtual safety car. Sonoda's had a big off at Bouchel, broken his front wing, lost that completely in the gravel trap, so he's going to get overtaken by, Tibos, of course, but he has to come into the pits. That's good news, I suppose, for Sway, who, again, gets a cheap pit stop after damaging his car. Goes on to another set of the intermediate tyres. 4 laps to go. Wolsey in the lead of this race. AMG second. Bob in third. Pulled out a bit of a gap from Charlie Harris, and that might be good news for Neymar if he can just close up ever so slightly at the moment and not speed under the VSC, as we've already seen Zoidema do. We could get 2 Mercedes on the podium here, as that's Phoenix, who I think's had an off as well, who's coming into the pits, because why else would you come into the pits with 4 laps to go? That is Phoenix into the pits. He's going to drop quite a long way down the order. That Scott does it this time.
Oh, that is not what you want to see, especially considering it's Scott. It's just, he's fighting Zima. Now Zima's going to get around him, so he had a chance to at least get some points, and now any chance of getting the points ahead. So Zima, even though Rob will catch him, it's definitely at least gone right, because the driver in second, at least for the constructors and the drivers, it will at least be a little bit kind of rewarding, at least because he'll finish at least with 1 Red Bull, and it's Red Bull that he's fighting in the championship. But yeah, other than that, really, yeah, Phoenix, did he have damage? Because let me check. I don't see if he had any damage per se, so I think, no, he did have damage wing, so he did want to pit to fix it. So yeah, but to finish my point is, again, is now Sonoda has retired from the race. He's retiring in the pit lane, so no crash on circuit. But yeah, with 4 to go here, I wouldn't say the win's set, but it looks pretty good that Wolsey's probably got this.
Yeah, certainly. Just needs to keep it careful, though. A slight mistake, maybe picking up a penalty, could cause him problems. AMG having a decent run at the moment in second place. I wonder if Rob was one of those drivers to have a bit more of a wet setup, certainly compared to Charlie Harris, because he seems to have done a fantastic job in these conditions. That is a yellow flag, and that is Sway again, who is just not enjoying himself. Keeps on going. Fair play to him. Should get himself, I believe it is going to be 6 points if he keeps on going at the moment. Yeah. So fair play to him for carrying on. 3 laps to go. Wolsey leading, AMG in second. Neymar, he's within penalty range of Charlie Harris and Corey Robb. This might be one to watch, almost time trial style here. If he can keep it clean, get his first podium.
Yeah, he'll definitely jump Conway Robb. The question is, can Harris clear enough here? But it looks like Harris is really struggling on those intermediate tires. So the only thing, I guess Robb right now is hoping that Harris drops just far enough back that he's able to kind of pick Neymar and make sure to give Neymar a little bit of a headache, per se. But other than that, yeah, it's probably right now Neymar's looking all right. But like I said, with 3 laps to go, it's a long circuit. One little mistake by Robb, Harris, and Neymar, and next thing you know, this podium gets all shuffled up. And Scott has still not served his penalty yet, so he's probably waiting as long as he can to pit. Now we have the outside sector 3. That is the Alfa Romeo of Dave, who's lost it on start-finish right here. Too late to have any kind of safety car get called here. So actually kind of shocking me. We've had no main safety cars here in this race, even though we kind of thought there'd at least be one. There's been some VSEs, but the Red Striker safety car has not come, the Mercedes-AMG safety car has not come out here at least once.
Yeah, that spin is for Dave is actually probably good news for Scott. I was just looking at the gap back to the leader. He would have come out. We would have come out by the things that we're looking behind Dave. Now when he has a pit stop, he's going to come out behind Tom, and that's actually only one place from where he would lose at the moment, I believe, because he did have that time penalty as well, of course, for track limit. So this drive-through is going to be annoying, but it's not actually probably going to cost him too much in the grand scheme of things. Further up the field then, Wolsey still looking pretty good at the moment. As we see so often in the wet conditions, things start to spread out. Phoenix picks up another time penalty then. We'll check what they are. He's on 6 seconds. It's 12 for Sway, 6 for Tibos, Dave, Phoenix, Carwin Rob, and Charlie Harris. Only 3 seconds for David Shahud, and that drive-through penalty plus some others for Scott at this moment in time. So Zoidema going to get himself up into 7th place. Carwin Rob's going to go, as things stand at the moment, he's going to finish in 4th. So as a points gap, probably not actually going to be too much. Zoidema's only going to lose out by, what are we talking about, 5 points to the man in 3rd place in the championship. And it does look like he's actually going to gain on Scott. So despite a bit of a tough race, his championship rivals have had a tough one as well, either with mistakes or just not being able to keep it clean enough penalty-wise.
Honestly, doing the math, right now the gap's, I was going to say, it's about 4.5 to 5 seconds to Neymar. So I wouldn't think it's all out. Yes, now Scott has pit to get that. But looking at Rob, honestly, there's a chance he could maybe get it. It's going to have to hope that Neymar really has a dog or lap the next 2. But he'll definitely get, even though Charlie Harris is going a little bit faster, so hold the folks. But I just think he's a chance he could still get that last step upon him. So Neymar still has to kind of at least keep it on the circuit.
Yeah, he does indeed, of course. And in these conditions, that is fairly tricky, although they should be used to them by now. Still quite a bit drier, I believe, than what we saw at the start of qualifying. As we check what lap times they are doing at the moment, we are seeing 153, 154, 155. So comparative to what they were doing at the end of qualifying, with probably comparative tyre wear and comparative fuel loads as well. Further back, we'll see what's happening. Tom's not doing too bad either. He had that spin, of course, on the first lap. He must be ruining that sort of like a what might have been, but he's just keeping it nice and steady at the moment. He'll probably admit he's not really in the championship fight, but he is going to get a pretty good result this season in the championship just by being consistent, keeping going, and keep picking up those points.
Yeah, it reminds me of what I do usually in F1 League Championships. I'm always usually just there near the end of the season because, like, just show up, be consistent, don't make major mistakes, and you get 3rds and 4ths, and they add up because some drivers go aggressive, like the Verstappens of the world. They'll go aggressive. They'll go all or nothing. They'll basically bet it all on red, and sometimes that will cost them dearly.
Yeah, certainly it will. Charlie Harris seems to have had a bit of a bad run here, so if Colin Robb got another penalty, Charlie Harris would actually be outside of that range, and if Neymar picks up a penalty as well, it looks like he will actually still be able to jump Charlie, if not Carvin Robb. We are on to the final lap of the race, and Wolsey's just sort of kept it clean towards the end, as there has been a yellow flag. Carvin Robb's lost his front wing!
Oh no! I was just checking the penalties to see if Neymar could get a chance. That is definitely not good. What black magic does Zuzima have on this field today? Because here goes Charlie Harris. Neymar Gaming will catch him. It's safe to assume his Ferrari team, and he'll fall harder. You can see his front wing on the straight here. So he really got a tank slapper coming across the line. And yeah, this Zuzima right now is probably smiling like the cat that ate the canary here, because Rob, there's no way he finishes ahead of the Williams driver. Wow, which is sinking.
No, certainly. He's just dropping down the order. You can see now Neymar's 4th on track. Charlie Harris is in 3rd. So Charlie's going to get 4th on track. 4th after penalties. Neymar will get 3rd place. So that's a bit more for him, that he just needs to keep it careful. But another twist in this championship tale. Now that Carvin Robb's got big damage, he's trying the best he can do. But he's going to drop. He's going to drop behind David. I presume we might see Zoidema and Tom catch him as well. Scott, you never know. Might be a bit close between those two. So the people 2nd and 3rd in the championship could be close at the end of the race. But one man who, apart from battling with Tsunoda earlier on, has not really been close to anyone is TTG Wolsey. He's just done his own thing in this race, kept it nice and clean. I'll check if he's actually got any warnings. Yeah, indeed. No warnings whatsoever, so can't even put that as a black mark against him. He has been absolutely fantastic in this race, and all he's got to do is keep it clean through Blanchimont and the bus stop chicane, and he's going to claim 30 points on debut here as a reserve driver. It's been an absolutely brilliant performance. TDB referred to him as an F1 driver in the chat earlier, and you know what, I'm kind of seeing why. if this is the pace that he could show, as there's been a spinner further back down the field. I believe that is one of the Alpines again, but no such worries for Wolsey. He heads towards the line to take the victory here at the Belgian Grand Prix. It's going to be a first podium of the season for AMG. Good job from him to get back into the points. Charlie Harris is going to finish third out on track. He will drop down to fourth, though. Neymar gets that first podium as well. It's a double podium for the Brackley team. Zoidema has got past Carvin Rob there, and Tom follows through as well. So Charlie Harris is fourth. David Chahud in fifth place. Zoidema, I believe, will still be sixth after penalties. And that is how it works out. Tom will be in seventh. Carvin Rob, eighth place from a potential fourth position. What could have been for him, and all the title rivals in the end finishing fairly close on track as Scott comes across the line in ninth place. I think Phoenix has had a moment towards the end. He'll be 10th, and then Dave, Tibos and Sway will round out the finishers. Great job from Wolsey. We never really had to talk about him because he had the ideal race in the end. It's not the most interesting for yourself when you're in the lead out on your own, but you take that every single time, I think.
I think, man, the main thing, and I said it early in the broadcast, it's like that wacky racing oil slick where you just kind of threw it down, and Tsunoda went for a spin, the Courtney effect happened, and then as soon as it happened, he was able to get Jetta set clear, and then the second, third place driver started fighting, and he just drove away. So it's not a situation where he was not, because I honestly think if he was in that pack still, he would have fought. He still probably would have won. But it's a situation that what really helped him was that 4 seconds and being consistently all right, that no one was able to catch him. And he was able to just kind of run his own race. No pressure from behind, no pressure ahead. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but as a driver, that's when sometimes it's like teams and everything else. But at the end of the day, what is not exciting for the viewer is very nice for you. So it's a situation where at the end of the day, he may not thank the fans, may not be too thrilled with how that race went from the top spot. But at the end of the day, he's thrilled that he was able to bring the car home in first.
Yeah, certainly. I think all the drivers, like you said, they wouldn't mind having a nice, steady run around on their own in the lead of this race. And it just shows how a bit inconsistent some of the drivers have been in this season. That all win round number 6, and we've got 3 completely brand new names on the podium. Wolsey taking the victory from pole position. Didn't quite get the full sweep, well, didn't quite get the Grand Chelem as Tibos gets the fastest lap. AMG second, Neymar in third, Charlie Harris, good job from him in 4th place. David Chahud in 5th, Zoidema, he'll take that after the start of this race. I think he'd have took that with 2 laps to go, to be perfectly honest. He finished in 6th after that drive-through penalty. Tommy 7th, Carvin Rob 8th, Scott and Phoenix rounding out the top 10. Dave, Tibos and Sway, the final finishers. We saw Tsunoda retiring the pits, as did TDB. Dressy and Nicholas having their own little issues earlier on, own little accidents. A very dramatic Belgian Grand Prix, and one where it hasn't really actually changed too much in the championship because we had those different names towards the top of the order.
Yeah, indeed, because they all finished so far back, and with again with Zoidema finishing the highest out of the 3, it's a situation where he's going to gain points. So Rob was looking at the big winner, and then that mistake on the last lap, it's just like Hamilton's brake bias in Baku or Verstappen crashing in Baku. It kind of monkey wrenched everything, and here, yeah, it's now Zoidema gets even a bigger gap, and with less races, yeah, someone's got to take away that golden horseshoe from Zoidema, basically. Right now, Rob or Scott have to find it and try to help themselves out.
Yeah, I mean, it was 39 points at the start of the day. He's gained 3 points on Scott in this race, so it's gone up to 42. He can't win it next time around in Japan, but it's getting to a stage where it's pretty, like I said, it's pretty much now or never. And I think we're now at a situation where if Zoidema got 3rd place in every single race, Scott would need to win and take the fastest lap in every single race to take the championship. It's getting to that stage. First time Zoidema's not had a podium, none of his rivals were able to take that advantage, and we saw he got that drive-through penalty, Scott getting it as well, Carvin Rob making that big mistake on the final lap. Really, really costly from all 3 of them.
But remember as well, even if, like say, hypothetically speaking, he can't, let's say, make Japan next week, and let's just say, hypothetically speaking, Rob wins or Scott wins, that's 30 points on, let's say, the hypothetical gap's now 42, then the gap's down to 12. So he has to consistently still show up and at least put things down, because one bad race, and next thing you know, a driver wins 30 points to his total. So it looks good for clinching, but if we're going to do the math on a clinch, he can't technically clinch right now until Abu Dhabi at race 10, or at least race 9 in Brazil.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to take him a bit of time. We'll have to wait and see how things go in the next few weeks for him and his rivals. We are bringing in some of the drivers for the post-race interviews, and it is, of course, some new names to the commentary box here in TTML, and we will start off with the man who took the race victory. It is TTG Wolsey. Wolsey, can you hear us? You are muted at this moment in time.
Yeah, I can.
An absolutely perfect start to the season for yourself. Pole position, got the victory. It looked fairly straightforward out there, despite the changing conditions.
Yeah, it was, to be fair. I got a pretty big advantage by being the last one on track to set a lap, because track was improving quite a bit in the end. So I snatched pole by, I think it was by a few milliseconds from Tsunoda. And in the start, he picked the soft, so I expected him to pull away, but I managed to re-overtake him on the camera straight. And the softs go off quite fast at Spa, so I managed to stay in front the whole time. And I don't know what happened then. There was I think a crash behind me, and which opened the gap even further. And so I was left, I think, with about 8 seconds before the rain started. And then actually just when I went past pit entry, Jeff told me to switch to Inter. So I thought I'm going to lose the race, but fortunately it wasn't just wet enough that the Inters are that much faster. So I managed to stay ahead. And then it was just about managing the gap to F1MD. And yeah, quite a cruise in the last few laps, trying not to crash.
Yeah, certainly. How did you set up your car for that race? Because the way it looked from us before the race, it was going to be half dry, half wet, and that pretty much turned out to be the way. Did you compromise your setup at all, or did you just decide, oh, I'll go for a full dry setup, or did you go for one which had a bit more taken into account the wet weather?
It was a complete dry setup.
Well, it certainly worked out for yourself. Pepsi, do you have any questions?
I guess the only thing I'd say here is that with you being your first race here, obviously not your first sim race, I'll put it in that perspective, but being your first race here in TTML, there's always those nerves that go into it and that. So how are you kind of feeling going on the grid, knowing that you're slotting in here, that it's a situation where, basically, how did you handle the nerves, knowing that you don't know what everyone else is bringing to the table and you're kind of wondering? So how did you feel with the nerves going into this race?
I was kind of nervous in the lobby, to be fair, as I only did one practice lobby and I didn't manage to put a valid lap in. So I was quite grateful that it rained, which obviously gives you multiple opportunities to set a lap. And yeah, then for the race, I think race is always my stronger part. It's been in the past, so yeah. Starting from P2 on mediums, I was quite confident that I could achieve a good result.
Well, that is good to hear.
Yeah, congratulations. Who knows, we might see you again this season. Judging by that pace, you might even get called up to reserve in F1 if you keep doing that. Congratulations on your first race and first victory of the season.
Cheers, mate.
And we'll now move over to the man who got his first podium of the season, 4th out on track, but penalties for other drivers got him up to 3rd. It is Neymar. Brilliant job for yourself, keeping it clean when so many others didn't.
Yeah, thank you. Without penalties.
Yeah, I'm guessing that race pretty much went exactly to plan for you. You seem to have great pace sort of halfway through the dry stint, almost like you were managing the tyres a bit better than everyone else.
Yeah, I was stuck behind people all the time, to be honest. So I just filled in, don't push these tires, but just stick with it. Drive clean.
Yeah, driving clean, obviously the name of the game here. So many different incidents happening. Pepsi, do you have any questions for Neymar?
I guess the main thing is being your first podium in TTML. How does it feel to kind of get that and maybe get that monkey metaphorically off your back? Obviously, you're going to set yourselves up next for your next win, but how does it feel getting that first podium of the season?
Perfect. It was, to be fair, it was all AMG's call who said to me it's clearly Inters now. And we did a double stack.
Good to hear. So actually, you did get the double stack. We were kind of wondering with you and Chop, you pulled away and you made it work. So that is a good to see that you shouted your teammate there, and good to see again camaraderie through the teammates.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, there was definitely some good teamwork between yourself and AMG today. Congratulations on your first podium of the season, and who knows, we might see you again over the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, maybe. Let's hope.
Yeah, cheers to Wolsey and Neymar for joining us for the interviews. Pepsi, brilliant race, completely different winners to what we'd have expected probably before qualifying. I think after qualifying we saw that Wolsey did have some good pace, and Zoidema extends his championship lead once again. We might even see some rain again. Another historic track next time out. Very difficult. Suzuka next time around. Very difficult to overtake there though. Qualifying is always important. Could take on even more importance in a week's time.
Don't threaten me with a good time here. But yeah, knowing that Suzuka is one of those circuits where it seems like it rains but it didn't rain. Yeah, it's one of those circuits where it rains just often, like a snap of a finger. That Belgium, Canada, and maybe Brazil, like the 4 circuits where if it's gonna rain, about coin flip of the time. But yeah, it's going to be tricky, especially in some of the conditions as well. There's some corners that could catch drivers out, and it's going to be very see if someone has the crazy fortitude to try to go through 130R side by side, maybe even in the wet conditions.
Yeah, we'll have to see if anyone is brave enough to do that. I know Carvin Rob pulled off some fantastic moves tonight. If you want to see some more,
he'll probably do it.
TTML action from Belgium, then luckily for you, we've got F1 and F3 that have been on live tonight as well. You'll be able to see them on the YouTube channel, League Racing TV later. And of course, there's Formula 4 tomorrow with Storm King and Conti. And then Formula 5 with Oliver Andreasen or Pariah and TFB Buck. That is Friday at 8 p.m. Next week, we will be at Suzuka. Can anyone stop Zoidema extending his lead in the championship? Some say he might have been a bit lucky tonight, that his worst race coincided with the other driver's worst race. He'll be hoping to be back on form, as will Carwin Rob, as well Scott at the equally difficult Suzuka circuit. Who will end up taking the victory there? You'll have to wait and see. Thank you to the drivers for joining us for commentary. Thank you for Pepsi for joining me in the box as well. And we will see you guys in a week's time for the Belgian Grand Prix. For myself and Pepsi, have a very good evening and goodbye.